What's up?
Oh, I'm just compiling all the top sports scores, news, and odds so I can make the very best bets.
Me too. BetOnline.ag.
Join today and receive your 50% welcome bonus at betonline.ag.
Lottery, interesting results. The Pelicans rumored to be willing to wheel and deal for the number one overall pick. With the Knicks having a high likelihood of getting that, wind up leapfrogging everybody, moving into that number one slot. So Zion Williamson, not necessarily the guarantee, but maybe the heir apparent to a traded Anthony Davis, right? Like really odd for them to move up into the one slot, or maybe they go a different direction, like I kind of alluded to before. Who knows what they do with that pick, but interesting that they jumped up. And in doing so, the Celtics, we kind of know that the tiebreakers didn't go their way, and some of the valuable picks that they thought were kind of devalued. They end up with 14, 20, and 22. And the real takeaway here is that probably the most valuable pick is the one that wasn't conveyed this year that I thought was going to get conveyed. The odds of that one actually deferring to next year were pretty low. And thankfully, Memphis's pick owed to the Celtics does defer, because this draft is not super deep outside of a couple of players at the top. And so I think everybody would like to see this move to next year. It also makes the pick more valuable in any kind of a trade if they do decide to package it. Depth issues abound potentially depending on what happens in the offseason. These picks at 14, 20, and 22, they could actually go with some of the older guys in the draft that know how to play just to build some single-year depth on that roster if it's necessary. None of them are going to get a ton of playing time. Or they could elect to take a couple of home run swings as well. But I almost see it as a depth building draft for them if they keep these picks this year.
That's not happening.
You think they're all getting spun out?
Yeah. There's.
Are you
There's no way
on Anthony Davis? Is that why?
I mean,
who else? If they don't get Anthony Davis, what happens to these picks?
Let me say this. I am not going to spend the next 6 weeks talking about Rui Hachimura and Bol and Cameron Johnson. I mean, look, I can do that. I can do that. I'm willing to sit there and talk about depth pieces that can build around this team. But this whole thing.
You just wanted to be so sexy, but how many times have they wound up making these picks? No,
yeah, but
these picks have no value in a deal for Anthony Davis.
That doesn't matter
for the same reason that you're saying they're not valuable enough for you to get all hot and.
If anyone is going to listen to this show, they're not going to want to listen to us talk about the 14th, 20th, 22nd pick.
I agree with you.
Cares.
I 100% agree with you.
But you're off the podcast on that one.
All right, so now we sound like the Boston media.
No. In all seriousness, there are depth pieces, but this is a bad draft. I mean. If you trade away pieces, pieces, to get Anthony Davis or to, Bradley Beal or whatever you're going to do. Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, probably trading away all those pieces makes no sense because you need low priced players to build around the max players that you're going to have on the roster. If the ultimate goal is, Kyrie, AD, and, Hayward and something else, then you need to have these young players growing into roles and ready to contribute, and not in a Terry Rozier sort of way, but in an actually I'm accepting my role and I'm playing it behind the superstar kind of way. And that's the ultimate goal, I guess.
Well, anybody drafted in the 20s has to kind of look at it that way. Pick number 14 wouldn't be ordinarily all that bad, but in this draft it's probably a 20s pick anyway. And so you're basically looking at 3 20s picks. They did get Rajon Rondo in the 20s. Like there's players that sometimes rise from an area where you didn't expect them to. We always see those second round home runs. So it's like Zarin said, I think last year, the more swings of the bat, the better odds you are at getting a great player, but the odds of getting a great player this low are low, right? So more swings of the bat, they'll have a few of them. Those players who do wind up panning out don't necessarily just jump right out at you in year one either. It's not necessarily a rookie thing. That's why I almost feel like they're just looking for depth picks. Get some semi-Ojelets, get some players that can do a couple of things really well. Brad will know exactly when and how to slot them in. A good junior or senior rebounder, somebody who's a little undersized but can go in situationally and grab some boards would be a great pick.
I agree. I agree with that. I mean, right now, I brought up Sam Vecini's his mock on the Athletic. He's got Brandon Clark, who kind of perfect as kind of that like weak side shot blocker, rebounder. I mean, really would be a good fit. Not much offense, but we're talking about if he could grow into that role of being a guy who could do what Semi does, but maybe a little bit more offensive game and grow into that as that kind of fifth guy in that starting lineup, that would be a great fit. I would think you would want to. That 14th pick is gone. It's going to be gone in a pick, gone in a trade. So I don't think you're going to have the 14th pick if you're making the deal. It's going to be the later picks that you may be stashing and using. But I mean, there's depth pieces, but to me, the future of the franchise is not about the depth. It's about, are they going to make this trade? And in a way, the lottery couldn't have worked out better because, I mean, you would have loved to see the Knicks and the Lakers further down, really, if you want a Davis trade. But but the fact that they didn't get one and they didn't get two really puts both teams in a position where they're going to really have to scratch and claw. The Knicks being in the third spot, there's not a whole lot you can pair with Barrett or with Morant if he goes third. There's not enough there really to make a deal. I don't think. I think the Celtics can beat any deal that the Knicks can put together. I think that the Lakers, the fourth pick, you're really scratching it, and you've got what Brandon Ingram with the issues he's having. I mean, it just seems like
you really want to go in on Davis, don't you?
Well, you have to. You have to. You have to get a top 5 player.
So you've got to keep Kyrie too. Then
no, I don't think you have to, but I think you really need to. It's like 90%. I mean, it's like a 90% thing. If he stays, then you feel pretty good about him sticking around. If you're at 100, I don't feel great about trying. I think it's 50-50 if you get Davis and you don't have Kyrie stick around. But I think he's going to stay. I think Kyrie's going to stay. I think Davis is going to get traded here, and this team is going to look completely different a year from now.